Welcome to Behind the Catch Fence. I'm your host, David Hoffman. I hope you guys are doing well. We got a lot of racing ramping up here soon, which means there will be a lot to talk about and unpack here very, very soon. But for now, let's keep the features going. Today, 8-time NHRA Top Fuel champion Tony Schumacher joins the show. Most of you probably know him best for wheeling that U.S. Army dragster for so many years. To date, Schumacher has a record 86 Top Fuel victories as he enters his 27th season. On the show, we discuss his big break at the U.S. Nationals, his legendary run in the 2000s where he reeled off championship after championship, what keeps him going, and much more. So with that, strap in and get ready. Sit back, relax, grab your favorite snack, maybe some leftover Christmas cookies, if they're still good and hopefully not stale, and enjoy this episode with Tony Schumacher. Growing up, I'm sure your dad was a big influence on your career and wanting to do drag racing. Just what went into for you deciding that you wanted to make Top Fuel drag racing a career goal?
I want to make funny car racing a career, to be honest. That's what he did. And I did, I had worked my way up. I think, most people, well, I guess if you ask 20 drivers how they got there, they all have a little bit different way, but probably somewhat of a similar story in how they ended up at the drag races. So, going there, my dad had quit when I was a kid. I was 5 when he quit. And he was business suit, president of Schumacher Electric. He wasn't, there wasn't a car left in the house. He wasn't in it, before 5, you're not really old enough to understand it. So I didn't really see him as that kind of a guy, but there were models like Revell models and 5 trophies sitting around the house. And you'd see that stuff. And then you'd have Tommy Ivo and Dale Pulte and drivers like that kind of swing by our house because we lived in a town in the north suburbs of Chicago called Park Ridge. And there was, it was an easy way and a nice shop if you were racing anywhere in Ohio or Indianapolis or Michigan and Wisconsin, and you just needed a place to work on a car. So I'd see these cars come in, sit in the driveway, and these guys unload these funny cars and jet cars, and that was just awesome. And just little things as a kid, you smell nitro for the first time, and I'm sure you have, right? That stuff gets in your eyes, and it's something you never forget. You never forget just the shock and awe of the whole setup, and pretty cool stuff.
When for you did you start to feel that as you kind of got into drag racing that you felt like, hey, I could actually do something with this?
Wow. I think when I drove a jet car, I worked when you're running super comp, there's a million of them out there. The light at the end of the tunnel is dim. You just don't see it. It's like there's so many people and you're thinking, okay, how am I going to get up there like Dixon? How am I going to run Larry Dixon, in the Miller Lite car? I raced a super comp car with 3 sponsors that pay $8,000 total. Like, how am I going to do this? And then I got hired to drive a jet car, and I had made enough 300-mile-an-hour runs or close to it that I was like, okay, I've gone fast. I've gone fast, and I can reach out and as people need drivers, I can at least say that I've gone near 300 miles per hour, and that's what I did. So, and I had bought an alcohol funny car and got into doing that because I wanted to go back competitive. Love jet cars. I love the showmanship of it all, but I wanted the competitiveness and the chance to win. And then I blew that funny car body off in a big explosion. And when I called NHRA, they actually recommended I called the Peak Brothers in Denver, and they happen to have a dragster. And 100 people had applied for that job, including Gary Sullivan. And I flew down there. They said, send me a resume. I said, absolutely not. I got on a plane. I flew down there. I sat across from them. I said, and I do believe in making a resume, and kids follow directions and all that stuff, but you can't get a personality off a resume. And I sat in front of them, and I got hired to drive Top Fuel. That week, we licensed on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, headed to Indianapolis on the following Monday for the first race of my NHRA career, Top Fuel. And, we ended up going to the finals. It was, and I've done the story a million times, but it was a series of unfortunate events that got me there, losing Blaine Johnson, having a single first round. But, we beat Mike Dunn, and we beat Larry Dixon, and ended up racing Corey Mack in the finals in Top Fuel at my first race in Top Fuel ever. I had never been down the racetrack under power all the way. The NHRA gave me my license because it would smoke the tires and I'd catch it. And they knew I drove a jet car. So they gave me my license. And I think that jet car comes back into play there just because they knew I could go fast. It was more, that I could catch it when it didn't go bad. And, I end up, me and Mike Dunn ended up smoking the tires in the semifinals at the Christmas tree. And I beat him. Like, he blew the blower off that thing. And, he, to me, was one of the premier drivers and always will be one of the best drivers that ever existed in the top fuel car.
You kind of mentioned that first event, I mean, being at the U.S. Nationals, and how do you, as a rookie driver, you just got your license and everything else. How do you compartmentalize that type of moment and being in the finals? Obviously, it didn't go in your favor, but to compartmentalize something that huge and that big of an event.
Complete naiveness, thank God. I knew nothing, and that was perfect, and that was what saved me probably. If I had 4 or 5 races and then was put at the big go, I would have crumbled. It was just, like, I didn't know there was pressure. There were a whole lot of people up in the stands that sure as hell weren't there to see me. They didn't even know my name. I didn't know my name, like it was brand new. And it was like, so I think that that helped me. It's just, I didn't have the weight of the world sitting on me. I wasn't expected to win. I was expected to, wasn't even expected to qualify. I mean, there were a 24, 25, 6, 7. I don't even remember how many cars showed up to qualify there. There were big names that, Shelly Anderson didn't qualify there, right? And, big names didn't qualify. And here I am sitting in that number 16 spot. And for whatever reason, I was put there for a reason to have so much great success in Indianapolis. I don't know what the purpose is. I appreciate that, everyone has their lucky tracks, and mine happens to be the biggest racetrack in NHRA's history. So I'm thankful for that, and, keep trying to win that race and make it so it's impossible to ever catch.
And then in your first full-time season, 99, you wind up winning the championship. And just, that season, consistency was the name of the game for you guys. And just as you're kind of adjusting as, I guess, a full-time rookie and going through that process, what do you feel kind of just was the emotional side of that? Kind of go through the consistency side and also having that success and eventually winning the championship in your first full-time year.
I was still naive, period. I wasn't even a good driver. It just, I guess I was good because I was naive. There's so much more I know now. And God, we didn't win a race till Dallas, and I'd been in 9 final rounds, and I was getting my butt kicked again by Scott Coletta. And then his car smoked the tires, and we needed it. But that year was insane. Like, when we talk about the racing today, it's fantastic. It may be the best I've ever seen, truly. And when I say that, you get the fans that were around, in the 60s, and they're like, oh man, 400,000 cars would show up to race. I'm like, all right, good. Okay. But there was Big Daddy and everybody else. Like, he was 2 seconds ahead of everybody else. Like, now the races are decided by tens of a thousandth of a second. And that year, when we got to Indy, and there was no countdown, there was no resetting the points. When we got to Indy, there were 10 cars that could leave that one race with the points lead. That's how close it was. You had Selzman, Bernstein, Motto, Doug Herbert, Dunn, myself, Corey Mack, all these people, right? And I'm not trying to leave anyone out. It was a lot of people. And we get to Indy, and Mike Dunn gets beat, and I take the points lead, and I never lose it again. And I mean, we had a series of different races where we could have been destroyed. I mean, we got to Memphis and it rained. And I think Joe Amato had qualified really well, and we weren't in the show. And I got in the car 4 or 5 times, and it rained, and I'd get out and I'd rain. And we ended up qualifying Sunday morning and running, I think, a 4:52 and qualifying number 1 or 2 and going a few rounds like we had done consistently and kept those points leads. But we had taken the lead, but we were only less than 20 points ahead of those guys. So if we don't qualify at that race, we lose the points lead. And then to just go on and get to Dallas, and to me, Dallas was always a super stadium growing up. It was the first all concrete. It was a big stadium. Billy Meyer had done a great job building that track, and to make that at the first place I win, and now to live in Austin and be able to go back there all the time, pretty special place for me. But the pressure was on, man. Selzy was just trying, it was Selzy. It was Ellen Johnson and Gary Selzy. They were just expected to win stuff. And to go out and beat them, they were like, who, what, who? And that season ended amazing. One win. I had a trophy shop. My house was 1,400 square feet. I had a trophy case built in the basement. It had a champ trophy and a Dallas trophy. The only two I had. Like it was pretty amazing the amount of uh, rounds we won without getting the closure of that win until Dallas.
Obviously, that trophy case filled up a lot of the next couple of years. But kind of 2000 was a monumental year. Obviously, having the U.S. Army come on as a sponsor, and and I know was it the week before you shaved your head or something like that that kind of happened to work out with with meeting with them. They're like, hey, you're the guy, and all that, and then what you broke your or what was it? You broke your leg, dislocated some fingers, everything else. Just I mean, that kind of leads into my next question with this with everything with that. Just I mean, I tend to get a wide variety of answers when I ask this, but what does I mean, you hear the term that drivers are wired differently. Just what does that term wired differently mean to you? Just knowing that despite breaking your leg, dislocating fingers, that you still got to go do a job. What's kind of what does the term wired differently mean for you?
Well, I think I could put it in pretty good terms. I think if you're an accountant and you fall off the chair and break your butt, and you can't sit in the chair no more, you go find a different job. It ain't going to bother you that much. You get in a dragster and you go 300 miles per hour, you will do anything to get back in. So we're wired different because it's a must have. It is our drug. It's our adrenaline. And we're going to find a way. I mean, I drove that car with a broken leg and dislocated fingers, and it was probably a terrible idea. But, overall, driving a 300-mile-an-hour car probably is generally a terrible idea. It's not, no one's ever sat in a room with me and goes, that guy's the smartest dude we've ever met before. They go, he's fun and he can drive a race car, and hell, he's nuts. But, it's one of those things where I never sat down in a room full of race car drivers and thought the content of the conversation was the most brilliant thing I've ever had. We're wired different. We're probably people that have gone skydiving. We've probably jumped in the water with a few sharks. We've done some stupid things, but these are calculated risks. You want a nut, go look at the nitro motorcycles. Now those guys are wired different.
Very good answer. Yeah, I can't imagine trying to hop on one of those things.
They're awesome, man.
Yeah.
That's my favorite machine out
Then obviously a couple, win another championship. And then 2003, Alan Johnson comes on board. You guys kind of struggled before Alan came in. And just what did Johnson bring for you that kind of just brought a spark to the entire team that kind of helped propel you into a pretty darn good, just, a couple years there?
Yeah, we had God, it was a great team, man. He had won before. We'd known he'd won before. We knew what he was capable of. To put it in a simple way, he called in the tune-up the first time. He had never been to the shop. I don't think he was ever at the shop at DSR, to be honest. But he said, "What kind of parts you got?" They said, "If you got this kind of part, I want you to do this with the tune-up. If you have this part, put this." The first round we smoked the tires. Second round we qualified number one and we won the first race. And it was the middle of the season, but we gained more points than Dixon from then on. And the next year we won the championship, and the year after we won it. We won it continuously. Great moments. He's a hell of a crew chief. Very knowledgeable, and them guys are farm boys. You ever been to Fresno, California? It's just it's amazing what those guys what they did in our sport, and the amount of people people don't give him enough credit, to be honest. He's trained so many crew chiefs. Just at DSR, we had several crew chiefs that would stand over his shoulder and look at what he's doing, that learn from him, and they don't get credit for that, and they don't want to give him credit for that because they want to. And I understand that, but the guys are all trying to fight for their whatever. But Alan was the lead dog at that. There's no doubt that for those years. Mike Green, my crew chief, got to work with him for a long time, and Alan, when he left, He looked at me, he said, don't worry about it, and a little bit of arrogance, but he said to me, you'll have a good chance of finishing number 2 with Mike. And then we went on and beat him. And to be honest, that was an incredible moment because, yes, he's right. He's Alan Johnson, and we had a good chance. But to go out there and do what we did and win by 2 points, that was pretty special. I mean, I have a lot of championship rings. I choose which ones I wear on different days, but that was just a hell of a moment. Like to go out there and accomplish that against the team that had, and he didn't leave. The whole team left. The whole team went over there to the Yalanabe team to beat me, and it was like, and to get it done, I guess it just meant, he's obviously the champ. He's a great crew chief, but to be able to beat him with a different team, all guys that had never worked together before, one of the top wins of my career.
And kind of going with that theme a little bit, when I was just going through, just kind of watching highlights, doing everything else, kind of prepping for this, what kind of stands out to me, obviously, you keep winning championships, '05, so everything in between 2006 and 2007 kind of come to mind, just with in Pomona, last chance, you got to get it done. Both times you guys come out on top, whether it's having to knock out an ET or anything. It just amazes me just how perfect and how like much you guys had to be locked in. Just when it comes to those type of game 7 sort of moments, just what was it just about yourself, about the team that kind of gave you sort of an edge going into those?
Man, I wish I could have a really good answer for you there. To be honest, we live for those moments. Everyone does. Kids growing up always dream of bottom of the ninth, bases loaded, you're up, and it's just so many people choke when that actually comes up. And trust me, it's a weight on your shoulders, like pretty incomprehensible. But you look around and, Roger Whitworth was my clutch guy. I had to set the world record on the run. None of them said a word before that. We had to set the world record, run within a window because we couldn't go too fast because we had already had a backup. And Roger just leaned in the car and smacked me on the leg. Didn't say try harder or, oh my God, this is so. He just smacked me on the leg like, hey man, we got this. Then, I had my eyes closed and it was like, okay, breathe, and everything had to go right. I could have read it too. Like I could have left early. I could have left late. There were a million ways you could have screwed that deal up, but I didn't think we would. I thought it was going to go right down the track. And the way to do it is tell yourself, this thing's going to be perfect. This thing's going to be perfect. This thing's going to be perfect. And, the following year, Hot Rod, all he had to do was win one round, and he's the champ. And I'm taking my fire suit off because I had just won, and he's running Vanderdrift. And you can see it on the HUD screen back in the day. We had a little thing on the computer. You could watch the 2 lanes, and you hear burp, burp, burp. And Alan Johnson turns around, and he looks at me. He goes, he smoked the tires. And all we had to do now was win the race, the whole race. We had to beat Bernstein. We had to beat Dixon, and some of the races came down to just inches. But we did it. Sit in the final round, about to do it again, just shaking your head, shaking your hands off, getting them nerves out. Because, you can be a veteran of the sport. You're still nervous, like everything done. Check. The checks are going in your mind. Check, 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 check. And guys are walking around checking everything tight, everything tight. It takes, when you got that many moving parts, and then you got conditions that are changing and the weather and this and that, anything could have happened, But I think Larry Bird said it best in the closing seconds of the game. I always wanted the ball in my hands for the last shot, not anybody else in the world. And I've been given that moment, right? Coletta got it this year. Coletta got to sit in the car. He got to drive against someone who, if he lost to, became the champ. Whoever won that race. So when I had that moment, we won. And then I flipped to a few years later where Antron wins because I lost. Great championship for him. It didn't, I hate to, it's a weird deal because me losing that round didn't earn Antron the championship. All his round wins did. It just came down to that one. So he had to stand there hoping I lost. And he's a great guy. He wasn't standing there with a hope that I lost. He hoped he won the championship, and to get there, I had to lose. But, and it was a hell of a race, and Bernstein beats me on a hole shot. I have a 50 light, a 53 light. He has a 23 light. So I got to be on both sides of those. I've lived it where it went well. I've lived it where it went bad. But I've always got to be the guy in the car to win the championship. I was the one that had to hit the gas on time. I was the one that had to have the right team in place. And that's a gift, man. That is just truly a blessing to be able to be part of that. If I never win another race in my life, I got to live the greatest moments ever in drag racing, at least top fuel for sure.
And you kind of described just the kind of being in your element and everything else. Just it's a little bit harder, I'm sure, for some people to maybe comprehend just how you kind of find those little milliseconds in a top fuel car or funny car, whatever it may be, just with so little amount of track time that there is. So how, I guess, how do you find that little bit of edge, that little extra what it is from your perspective? Obviously, the crew can do as much as they can, but for the driver themselves, what can they control and how do you find that little bit out on that track?
I just think it comes down to a lot more than the throttle pedal. If you want to know how to hit the gas, there's Justin Ashley. Go ask him. He hits it faster than anyone I've ever seen. If you want to drive a car, keeping it straight is to me the most important thing. Keeping the car straight and balanced, and knowing I can do that. And I didn't always do that, and I didn't always know it. Like I think staging a car, the amount of brake pressure, all those little tiny things that come into play. When you do everything the same, you tend to hit the gas the same. Everything, it's like a machine, it's just one thing after another. Replicate. And it's an important part of our sport. I think if you even ask a NASCAR driver, IndyCar driver, replicating in a corner, when you find out one that works, doing the same thing over and over again, any athlete, and doing it, we're talking tens of thousands of a second, and one little move, in a car like ours making 12,000 horsepower, two tires moving, a live axle, any move I make shifts the weight and the balance. And knowing that, visualizing that, understanding how that works, and just doing your best every time.
And a couple years later, you won your last championship to date, 2014, and then your time with the U.S. Army as a sponsor came to an end a little couple years later, and you decided to kind of take a step back. Just for you, just I mean, what went into that decision, knowing you're still on the top of your game, you're still like I'm sure you probably had a lot of questions during that time.
Yeah, and I didn't want to be out of it. We had a lot of teams, and we thought it would be a little easier to put a name on the side of the car. We had all kinds of stuff. I think part of the problem, looking back, we had a Pennzoil car, we had a Mopar car, we had a Matco Tools car, we had a Napa car. So where do I go? We got oil covered, we got the bodies or the manufacturers covered. We got the tool company covered. You start to run out of places to go ask. You can't compete with them. So really, and we just didn't have it, and it wasn't there. And it wasn't my job to, and it was my dad's decision, but it's not like my job to go, hey, Leah, you're out, or Antron, you're out. I'm going to sit in that car. It's just, we'll find it. And it took longer to find it. And it was tough, man. You got to have money to run these cars. You either have it yourself or you got to have it in the sponsor. My deal has always been, I want to build it. We were the most successful recruiting tool the Army ever had in the history of the Army. I wanted to build something else like that, and went out and spent a lot of time finding our next group, So I enjoy what we've done with the Maynard family. I'm enjoying working with a new group, and good people. Miss Kathy, but it's a great group, and I think they're going to grow. It'll be hard to surpass what my dad did. That was an amazing overall accomplishment as both being a driver, a car owner, understanding how the cars worked. At one point he owned all the nitromethane. At one point they couldn't run the Indianapolis 500 without buying fuel from him. He just knows how to be business, and that's pretty special out there in that world.
I'm just kind of watching him sort of, have that much success. I mean, how much fun was that for you to be able to kind of work alongside him, both just from I guess, a personal standpoint and a professional standpoint?
It was greats and bads. Like the same guy I have to have turkey dinner with on Thanksgiving. If everything when it was going great, it's going great. When your car ain't running good, it's miserable. And uh, for him, there was just one way. I love winning. I mean, that's what I'm there for. But when we get beat, I don't call them excuses, but there's a reason. There's other good teams out there. You got to sit back and look and go, what caused us to lose? Now, if you say, well, I did it, I'm not making an excuse. I don't care what you think. I'm sitting here trying to figure it out. So later you can go, well, that's not going to happen again. I know how to fix that problem. Or it may happen, but it's going to happen minimal times, and that's what we're good at. So it was great though. I mean, it was a long time, and his passing a few weeks ago is gonna be hard on everybody. The whole community came together, and uh, they all felt it because he's done so much. He's expanded the sport like a John Force, but he's really done. I mean, look at it, an Antron, and now Tony Stewart in there with Hagan and Leah. He has built these teams. Cap's owning a team. He's helped these people become team owners, and pretty cool stuff.
It's hard to top in any sport, in any motorsport, anything. I found a couple questions. Just heading into this year, just what do you feel is feasible for you and your team? Obviously, coming back, it's been, I'm sure maybe not as what you may have hoped with, maybe contending for championships and everything else, but as kind of heading into this year, what do you feel is feasible just for you and your team?
Championship. I mean, last year, God, we were awful. You ask any one of the guys on the team, we were awful. And when you have, Mike Neff and a John Schaefer and a Phil Schuler, there's no way you can be. But we had put together a brand new team. And when I mean brand new, I mean every part was new. So the management of the clutch had never seen the flows, hadn't been set. Never. So it wasn't like we took a car that had run decent and tweaked it. We had a lot of stuff to go through. And we're getting it together. We will win. I've been up and down and all around. I finished bad and I finished good. But I love racing. I love putting deals together. I really enjoy being out there. I enjoy the group of people I'm around. And I love the fans. I mean, I love standing out there signing autographs, giving hugs. That's, the end of my career, it'll be the part I miss the most. I've gone 300 miles per hour a lot of times. If I never got to go 300 miles per hour again, okay. But I miss the people, man. They love coming to the races. They spend their hard-earned money to come there, stand at the ropes, and I enjoy that part of it the most.
Yeah, and final question for me, just, I mean, you've done anything and everything imaginable in Top Fuel, knocked down every record, whatever it may be, your name's at the top of it. Just what drives you to keep doing this?
Again, just the love of it. I freaking love driving race cars. I love being there. I love getting up in the morning, going out there on Sunday morning. You don't know if you're going to win or lose, but you got a chance. And it's a sport. And the thing is, you can have a crappy car and win the race. I mean, heck, I went to 9 finals rounds before I won one with that. You can do that, but when it starts to come together, watching a team really start to gel, and that's a special thing.
Well, Tony, I appreciate you taking the time. Obviously, you got a busy schedule coming up here soon, and hopefully everything goes smoothly and well. But yeah, thanks again for joining.
Anytime. Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed this episode with special guest Tony Schumacher. As I look back at the show, what immediately sticks out to me is Tony's pure passion for the sport of drag racing. I mean, he's been immersed in it since day one and has been on the gas ever since then. It amazes me just how one driver and team can be as dominant as Schumacher was, especially in the modern day in the 2000s where equipment and competition is just as tough as it's ever been. And also, can you imagine trying to strap in behind the wheel of a 330 plus mile an hour Top Fuel car with a broken leg and dislocated fingers? Not one bit. Heck, I struggle driving my car on the highway if I have a cut in a weird spot on my fingers, so I couldn't be a Top Fuel racer, that's for sure. Well, that's all the time we have for today's show. Make sure to catch up on our previous episodes, including our interviews with NASCAR Hall of Famer Mark Martin and 10-time World of Outlaws champion Donnie Schatz. Before you leave, make sure to comment some of your favorite moments from the show today and be sure to like this video. Share it with your racing friends as well. You can follow this podcast on X and Instagram at Behind Catch as well. Thanks for tuning in. Have a great day, and we'll catch you guys later.